Hi, everybody, and thanks for joining us today. I'm Rick Parkhill. I'm the Director of Brand Storytelling, and I'm glad to have you with us. Today, I'm excited to talk about the hit mystery/comedy series by Hulu, Only Murders in the Building. Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of fans watching now that are tuned into that show. It's terrific. But rather than talk about the series, we're going to take a behind-the-scenes tour of a widely innovative piece of content created to promote the series. Only Rudys in the Building is a YouTube video by musician, comedian Rudy Mancuso. If you haven't seen Only Rudys in the Building, stop this right now and go to YouTube and watch it, because this isn't going to make sense until you watch that film. So if you haven't seen it, go look for it. Only Rudys in the Building, then come back here. Here with me today are the folks who came up with this great piece of brand storytelling. I'm so excited to have them all. So let's dive right in. We've got Gabe Gordon here. Gabe's the co-founder and partner at the award-winning digital video agency Reach. Reach Agency is purpose-built for the developing world of digital video storytelling to engage brands with social generation. Gabe, thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having us, Rick.
Absolutely. And we got Emma Jennings here. Emma's a content architect. Emma's a member of the creative work team at Google, and in her role as a creative director for branded content, Emma helps the world's biggest brands and agencies develop breakthrough content on YouTube. She's based in LA, as are all three of you. And we have Ari Avishay here, Vice President Content Marketing at Hulu. Hi, Ari.
Hello.
Ari is a brand marketing executive with a track record of delivering impact through content, media, and entertainment. His career path has taken him through Davy Brown, which became a part of the marketing arm, CAA, and Lyft. And for the last, 2+ years at Hulu, Ari?
Yep, 2.5 years now.
Yeah. So let's get right into this. Ari, set it up for us here. Tell us about the marketing challenge that you faced at Hulu with this new series, and how this campaign solved for it. Set the stage for us.
Yeah, happy to. So we started diving in about a year prior to when the series launched. So the series launched in August of 2021. So we started in the fall of 2020. And we felt bullish about the series that we had in our hands. Obviously, being at Hulu and this being a Hulu original, we were biased about it, but we knew that the series was going to be a special one. We have this great show starring three of the most entertaining, talented artists in the world in Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Selena Gomez, in a really captivating story that leaned into the concept of true crime podcasts, which are incredibly popular right now. The challenge, though, early on is that unlike many other pieces of entertainment right now, this is a new-to-world IP. Whereas many films and series and podcasts now are based upon comic books, old TV shows, New York Times bestsellers, which are great. This was not that. This is original intellectual property, an original story, which as a consumer is very exciting, but as a marketer brings some challenges. It does not have a built-in audience. People aren't familiar. We used to have a lot of conversations about the title of the show, which now, thanks to the success of the campaign and the title, Only Murders in the Building, has a lot of notoriety and awareness, but it didn't before. And from an audience standpoint, we knew we were going to have also challenges in that, yes, we have three of the most talented artists in the world, but they're very different from each other. Selena Gomez's audience are rabid fans, and there's hundreds of millions of them around the world. But we, through research, learned that the awareness of Steve Martin from Selena Gomez's fans was not very significant, and vice versa. Steve Martin fans were maybe not very familiar with Selena Gomez, and so we had a really complex audience strategy that led to a really strategic campaign that was going to require us creating incredible, engaging content with incredible partners that attracted and brought in audiences that show up in the world in very different ways. And as it relates to what we started to do in our early conversations with Emma and the team at Google and YouTube, we wanted to find a way to reach the younger end of the audiences that tend to be a bit more diverse, a bit more multicultural, those that may be Selena Gomez fans, but may not know who Steve Martin and Martin Short are, and also have zero awareness of what Only Murders in the Building is because it didn't exist before. And that was the primary challenge that we went with to Google, to Emma's team at Google and YouTube to say, help us do that. You know, we're a big media partner of theirs. We buy out many of we engage and partner around many of the traditional media assets that Google and YouTube have for us, but we wanted to do something a bit more unique that would allow us to build the awareness and engagement that we knew would be required in order to have a successful show.
So what's interesting about this cast, I think, is that it appeals to such a wide audience, from the age span from Steve Martin to Selena Gomez and in between. So this campaign really focused on the challenge was to get younger viewers. Is that's what you were focused on?
Yeah, part of it. I mean, the campaign as a whole had many different strategies in it. The element that we worked really closely with, starting with Emma's team on, was this opportunity to bring in a younger audience, more digital, more social first story consumers.
Yeah, right. So Emma, talk to us about that. It's like, tell us, how did this, Ari comes to you and says, I've got this marketing challenge. I got to get, connected with younger viewers with this new program. How's it all start?
Yeah. Well, the first thing that Ari did right is he didn't engage us via RFP. It was a sort of longer lead time as far as a project. So we had a lot of time to do research. So I think maybe it was 4 or 5 months before the show was going to premiere, he came to us and basically said, where can you be helpful? And we said, the younger audience. That's who we know. That's, on YouTube, that's who we can really help you find a resonant story to tell with. So we took all the inputs that Ari and Xavier's team had already gathered, what they knew about the show, what was great about the show. And they shared, I think, the first 3 episodes with us. So we really dove into the aesthetic and the tone, and we understood how unique it was. And, our challenge was, how do we find the interesting trends and nuances that live on YouTube and that resonate with this audience, but also connect back to the show? Our challenge is like, how do we find the fabric that weaves all this together so that people are like, aha, this is something I want to watch. I never heard of, never seen anything like this before. So we identified a few areas using our tools. We could put in comparable titles that Ari shared. We could put in Selena Gomez inputs and sort of understand what's the kind of content that resonates with her fans. And when we did that, we found a few really interesting areas that came back as outputs. One of them was aesthetics. So this fan loves design, interiors, apartment tours, cake decorating was a big one. They also love deep dives. We found that they're very curious about how things are made and what goes behind the making of a show even. There's this great video, one of the highest indexing videos we found was an Olympic gymnast watching movie scenes and rating those scenes. They were gymnastic stunts and sort of rating the accuracy of those. This is something that this audience was really into, like what goes behind that, how real is it? And then personalities was the third theme that came out. So interviews, mashups, contrasting sort of lineups of people. And so we had all this creative gold. We didn't really know what to do with it. We're a creative team, but we only kind of build things out halfway because we depend on our partners like Reach to help us make things. So we just, our next step was really to pull in the right partner who could take all of this, help us find the creative tension, and then help us think about what's the story we want to tell on YouTube that will delight these fans, interest a creator, and really achieve a great piece of content, which was Ari's directive all along.
Wow. So it really started, your research started with really trying to figure out the fandom of Selena Gomez and what they were gravitating towards.
in part. It was not just her, but it was also just younger viewers of whodunits. And then sort of like the intersection of all these pieces, making sure we could create something that was as broadly appealing to all of those demographics as possible. But certainly we wanted to reach fans of hers as well.
I can just imagine how this happens at Google, where somebody sits down and starts inputting all these things: Selena Gomez, mysteries, whodunit.
It's amazing. I wish I could show
decorating it. And all this stuff starts rolling out at you.
It gives you clues. I mean, we believe at Creative Works that the best creative is rooted in insights and data. It doesn't have to be an earth-shattering finding. It just has to be true. People want to see something that's rooted in something relatable or entertaining. So that's what this data gives us, is something to go on. It's not just a hunch. It's something that we know will have momentum or will resonate or appeal to people. So that makes us feel good about the ideas that come out of that, because we know it's based in truth.
It's so interesting. So what's the next step? You come up with all this research, you package it all up, and you put it on a courier. It goes over to Reach Agency, and Gabe opens it up and figures it all out. Is that it?
It's not quite that simple. There's only a few. So we at Creative Works, we have a short list of partners we work with to make things, because again, we don't actually do the making, but we need to depend upon people who understand how YouTube works. And it's not an easy platform to understand. Like, not every agency gets it or can keep up with it. And I understand that very well myself. But they also need to be able to understand the position and the challenges that marketers like Ari are in. How do you make something great on YouTube that also achieves what they need to achieve? And that's something that Reach happens to be awesome at, and has proven themselves very capable of over the years, saying yes, but also with realistic expectations set along the way. So we're really, what we do typically is we present work from partners with rationale, and we share that with our clients, and then they choose who they want to work with. And I'm very happy that Ari chose Reach.
Great. So Gabe, tell us a little bit about your history with YouTube, and because I know you've had a close working relationship and done a lot of work with YouTube over the years. Tell us your history, first of all, that kind of brought you to this moment.
Yeah, our agency turns 10 years old next month, and we started as a YouTube agency. We started optimizing channels for big brands, helping them with programming strategy, working with influencers back then, starting with puppies and kittens, and now pretty much everyone there is on YouTube that's big and notable. And so we've always helped brands, understand how to work with YouTube. It's been in our DNA. They were this first, social video platform, and every platform since has taken a cue and from a process that, of what YouTube established. So we're very close, and we've worked formally with Google and Creative Works for almost 5 years now.
So what was it that, how did the brief come to you? Is it a brief? Is that the right description?
Yeah, that's actually the first innovation. I'll continue Emma's theme, and I will always promote the fact that great work doesn't come from RFPs or briefs. But
that's another panel, by the way, that we need to organize, is the whole debate of RFPs. But
no, absolutely. And I think, look, usually we do get a brief, right? And I think what was different here is that Emma had all this great data, and we decided to do a workshop. And I think that was, starting off on the right foot. We really got to see and learn all the data. We all had conversations together. There wasn't just a brief with, distilled data. It was a conversation. We got to see it and experience and have a conversation about it, which allows agencies like ours, the right experience to really develop the best product. The big challenge here, and we were talking about it earlier, is that you have all this data, right? You have all this data, and it's where art meets the science of the data is what we actually have to do. And it is a pick and choose situation. So there's tons and tons and tons of insights. What we work through in this workshop is really, what are the most important things? What will resonate most? What has the most creative potential? What's the most executable to go against? And that's really, was the starting place for us when we were developing the creative for this. And so what wound up happening was we basically took all the data and we came back with 3 core ideas that we presented to Hulu for them to take a look at.
Now, how baked are those ideas? Are they? I mean, did you come? Was one of the ideas only Rudy's in the building? I mean, how baked are those?
Yeah, look, it's like any creative process. It was concept level, right? And the idea was to pick one and then develop it further. But we came back with 3 ideas. One leaned into the insight that Emma said earlier. The consumers wanted a deep dive. People loved, Selena. They loved her fashion. So one was, a deep dive on like getting the look, recreating the looks from Selena in the show, right? She has fantastic fashion. People love what she's wearing anyway. So that was.
Gabe, if I can interject, don't say too much about the concepts that we didn't choose because we might have to bring them back just for season 2. So
yeah,
we'll see audience response on these, right?
Those have shelf life.
Right. Absolutely.
Comment below with your favorite.
yeah.
The other one was, again, mashups. Like, it's in the DNA of the show. You have Steve, you have the 2 different types of talent. You have, there's mashups were a theme there. Mashups are a huge format that's popular on YouTube, collaborations, right? And so we had another idea that was based off of sort of, unexpected mashup that would bring a concept. And the third, which wasn't, I wouldn't say it was as rooted in a trend, but it was sort of the mix, the blend of so many things, was really just leaning into the fact that this was, it was a topic about murder and murder mysteries, but really was a comedy too, right? And it was being able to pull off that tension of drama and intrigue, but also comedy, but then also having high aesthetics and high production value. And that's another thing that's a challenge when you take, such an amazing production value TV show like this and try to represent it on social. And that was creator based. It was Rudy, who we found, who was very unique. And we came up with only Rudys in the building.
And the production value of that little film is really great. It's so innovative. It's like, it's just fun to watch. I've seen it 3 times now. I just put it on the big screen in the living room for Jean, for my wife, last night, and we just laughed. It's so fun. So this is so interesting because from the time you start the research to the time you actually land on a project and start and go into production, what's the time frame here? It started somewhere around August, earlier?
We started in July, and I believe by August we had fully kicked off. So probably 3 to 4 weeks, but to Gabe's point, brought Reach in really early, included them in this working session. And then, Ari moves fast. So we made some decisions pretty quickly when it came to securing Rudy and getting something locked in.
So let's talk about that a little bit, about once you landed on the one of the 3 ideas that Reach brought you, then it was casting, then it was looking for the right creator.
Yeah, I mean, Rudy was the man for the job on this, and so it was really.
Did you know that going in when you? Okay.
Yeah, his format. Look, it's him playing different characters, which we thought was comical. He had the high production aesthetic. He had a musical background. He has
the right audience. His existing audience was aligned with exactly who we were targeting.
Right. And so it really was us, frankly, selling him on the concept, right? And it was look, he's a huge fan of Steve Martin Short, and Selena. We showed him the first 3 episodes, and we told him the concept, right? And I think the biggest thing was we allowed Rudy to be Rudy. We didn't give him a script and say, you have to shoot this. We didn't say, hey, you need to say, only murders in the building on Hulu 50 times in a video. We went to him with, hey, here's the concept. We want to play off the idea of, hey, you don't really know your neighbors. One of the creative challenges with him, by the way, was you can't tell a lot about a show, especially a new IP, but you need to tell enough to get people hooked and interested. So we were really able to create sort of a parallel Only Murders in the Building universe with Rudy. And we gave him creative liberties, and we gave him some guardrails, but we really allowed him to sort of take the reins on writing the script and coming back with the concept.
Yeah, I think there was even, if I remember correctly, some of our notes, which were relatively minimal because he's so good, but were to tone down the amount of branding. This piece needed to be entertaining on its own in order for it to be successful, and it couldn't feel like a commercial. It's the anti-commercial. And as it relates to what Gabe, what you were saying about Rudy and the right person for the job, and it's I think we said something to the effect early on, or was in the sentiment of our voice of we pitched it to Rudy. We wanted him to do it, not because there might be a financial compensation at the end of it. There's no check that we would write that make him want to do. We would want him to be a part of it because he liked the IP, he liked the story, he liked the concept that Reach had developed. That's kind of inherent in us identifying him and him partnering right back with us, which I think set the stage for our team to not have to script him in what he was doing.
I think that's a point that some people miss, and how important that is, that it's not just writing a creator a check. It's got to be bought into the whole project and be enthusiastic and know that whether you got money for it or not, of course it's going to get money for it, that's something fun to do. It's something his audience will love. It's something he can really get behind.
Yeah.
And those are the best partnerships. They have to be excited about what they're creating, right? Because when they're excited, they're going to create something better for their audience. It's going to perform better, and it's going to perform better for the partner as well.
So that creative process is so interesting. What did you come to him with? We want you to have, the first message comes in a briefcase. The next one's, a pizza box. I mean, did you go that far, or was that all Rudy?
I'll interject real quickly, Gabe, is that because part of the feedback before we greenlit it, the concept was, well, first off, we shared with him the series. And so I think treating all partners, which we did with everyone, like a partner and not an agency and not a vendor of sorts, which I think goes back to the anti-RFP process that we talked about before. We wanted him to see the series and know the series and love the series. And the goal was for what we wanted him to do was watch this and see, what are you inspired to make? And that's when Gabe I'll pass off to you, because that was our mission, our challenge to Gabe and team of let's get Rudy to watch this and see what it inspires him to do.
Yeah, look, and we took that, and yeah, he has to like the series, he has to understand it, right? It was new IP. But I think what we lined with, just to make sure whatever he did create with and having creative freedom was in line with the strategy and got the message out, was centering on this concept of how well do you really know your neighbors. It's something that's universal. It's something that's true that comes from the series. And it was enough of a creative guardrail for him to then go create something, right? And so he just had a short concept description, and we let him write a script. We collaborated with him on a little bit, and not very minimally, and obviously showed it to Ari and Emma, and hardly any notes, as Ari said, and let him get off to shooting.
Wow. And so then what happens at shooting, at production? Who's on set? Who's watching it as it develops? How much input do all of you have in that work that Rudy's doing?
I think, first and foremost, I'll say, like, one of the smartest things we were able to do, again, to just bring people into the world of Only Murders in the Building, is Ari was able to get, score from the film, graphics, title treatments, to give what Rudy was creating, the whole feel and the aesthetic, right? To bring people into the world of Only Murders in the Building. But look, we let him shoot this whole thing. We weren't there finger pointing. We weren't there overseeing anything. Rudy does a fantastic job producing, and there was no reason for us to get in the way of that. But it was by no means a small production. It was 3 different locations, all shot downtown, big crews, everything.
What a wildly talented guy he is. Funny, a musician, what a perfect character to bring into this and the talent that he brought to it. And YouTube, why is, tell us, just briefly, why is YouTube the perfect platform for this kind of thing? I bet Emma could touch on that.
No, do you want me to do that?
Go for it, Emma.
I mean, I think, first of all, I mean, we can reach all different types of people in many different types of ways. And I think putting this on YouTube organically, but also putting media behind it, allowed Hulu to really see who this content resonated with. If they wanted to, they could have targeted to different demographics. They didn't. They kind of put it out there in the world and then let people watch it with a YouTube ad. This is I think 6.5 minute long piece. People had the choice to skip it. And one thing you can do on our platform is, again, we don't force that ad upon you. If you like it, great. If you don't like it, skip. And then, Hulu doesn't have to pay for that view, which is wonderful. But it allows the viewers to hear about something, see something that they might be interested in, they might be entertained by. And then on the back end, we can see that they truly did love it. I won't share Hulu's data, but people stuck with this ad far beyond 30, 60, 90 seconds.
Oh, you have to. Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah.
It draws you in. And I don't think, with all due respect to other platforms, I don't think this could have lived in a shorter format or vertical format necessarily. It really is cinematic. And I know, again, from the data we saw, it also performed very well in connected TVs. You yourself said you put it on the TV at home.
Yeah.
It works across screens. And I think that's something unique to YouTube and something that worked really well in the telling of the story.
So let's talk results here. Just looking at it, looks like 6.4 million views right now and growing. Tell us about the impact and results here, Ari.
I'm happy to share what we can share.
Of course.
Everyone loves to be guarded with their data and insights. So not only did it have over 6 million views and counting, the sentiment was overwhelmingly positive, way beyond our benchmarks, to an absurd amount, frankly. And so that's first and foremost is great. And then even going in deeper into that, if you care to scan through the comments, read what people wrote. It's incredible. It's incredible. I some of these things I want to print them out and put on my mom's refrigerator of what they're saying of how complimentary people are about the work that we all did together. So that was incredibly impressive. You mentioned, Rick, at the top, and Emma emphasized that you put it on your TV. I don't know the volume overall of YouTube videos watched on televisions, on TV sets, but many more people watched this on their TV than we expected to. While we can't share actual numbers, many more than we expected.
Is there a way to measure that?
Our friends at Google can measure everything.
How many times people hit AirPlay and throw it up there on their TV?
It's as a percent of view and total views. You can see what amount of the total 6 million views, what percent occurred on connected TV.
Yeah.
So yes.
And we love that. Anecdotally,
That's awesome.
We love that because it means that the short film that we made was cinematic in nature.
Cinematic, yeah.
Yeah. We love when people watch on their devices, of course, but it means something different. It's a little bit of the anecdotal validator that the production value was worthy of a victory, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
And not to mention, not surprisingly, a lot of people watch Hulu through their televisions as well. And so now we have them consuming marketing, opting into this marketing in the same exact arena where they also watch Hulu. And so while we can't disclose certain numbers, we were very pleased with the linkage between people who consume content, watch the show, engaged with the show, and then not surprisingly, and we've released this so publicly, but the series is our most watched comedy ever on Hulu, which is.
And it's all due to the great work the three of you did.
It's all that. It's not, yeah, it's nothing to do with how great the show is or that there was a pandemic going on and everyone was watching streaming TV, but yeah.
Nothing to do with Steve Martin or Martin Short or any of that stuff.
Yeah. And look, just to add,
Take all the credit.
I'll take a little credit, but I will say one thing we also know is that the longer someone spends with a branded piece of content, the more impact we have on brand lift metrics, like consideration. And so without knowing directly or sharing directly what this did for Hulu, again, people spent a lot of time with this content, and there are ways you can attribute it back to when you look at likelihood to view or even purchase. We're able to do that through our tools. So if Hulu had wanted to have a subscribe now button, they could have, and we could have seen how many people later subscribed to Hulu. We didn't do that for this one. Again, it was smart probably to keep it the way it was, but that's something we could have done. And I think Ari's right. The comment section is a wild place on YouTube, but for this one, people not only loved the fact that Hulu enabled something great for Rudy, because Rudy had actually been gone for a while. He was off doing other projects. Hulu brought him back on the platform. And so many of the comments were about that, but also almost equally, people were commenting about how they saw this through an ad. And I don't know about you, Rick, but people don't normally watch an ad and then go comment positively about that experience.
Yeah.
It's like the Yelp effect, where people will only come there if they've got some constructive feedback, shall we say. But in this case, they said, I got this as an ad. This is one of the best ads I've ever seen. Can't wait to watch this. So this video not only exceeded benchmarks for media and entertainment, it exceeded benchmarks, period, as far as content like this on YouTube.
That's great. So of course, connecting the dots between, creating a piece of IP and brand lift is what everyone in the C-suite is looking for. And it's what we have to bring to them to make the argument that this brand storytelling stuff really works and lifts brands and lifts sales. So this is, any last words, Ari, anything that surprised you here, any big learnings that you take away from this? I mean, do you go back to Scott and the group and say, we just have to do more of this?
Yeah, I think obviously the three of us were bullish and felt like it was worth the risk. This is the first time that we had leveraged our partnership with Google in this way. And I think on top of the learnings that we've talked about here, it giving more people the confidence to do something a bit non-traditional, in our campaigns. Look, we're always going to make, as it relates to launching content, launching series and films, we're always going to make the world's best trailers. We're always going to make the world's best key art that materialize themselves into out of home and digital ads. What are the right bets, the right risks to take to help increase the likelihood that the shows that we put out, the films we put out, become part of the fabric of popular culture? And this was the,
Yeah, and I guess it's the conversation about, how wide a slice of pie is that content marketing piece going to be in this, with this new series that's coming up? And does that pie get a little bit bigger when you have successes like this?
I hope so.
Yeah, I do too. Well, listen, this has been terrific. Congratulations on the success here, all three of you. I sure enjoyed the film. And if you're still watching this, and if you haven't watched Only Rudy's in the Building, you got to go do it. So thank you, everybody, and appreciate it. And we will see you around. Thanks so much.
Thank you.